Well, good morning, everyone. It's absolutely wonderful to be here with all of you. Thank you for being here at this fabulous gathering. So, as you all know, I think, it was in 2005 that Richard Louv published one of his many books, this book being called Last Child in the Woods, Saving Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. Now, Rich was the first to say that nature deficit disorder is not a medical diagnosis. He was quick to say that and says it repeatedly, but it was a description of changes in childhood that we continue to see, much as we work so hard to reverse what had become a trend at that point in time. So he wrote the book, and it really touched the hearts and minds and really hands of people throughout the world. I'm among the many who was so grateful that he gave voice to this change in society and change in childhood. You know, I had begun my work at the national level in the 1970s. Many of us had worried so much about changes in childhood. And then in 2005, this book came out and again touched people's hearts throughout the world. And it was in 2005, after the book came out, Rich and I met at a conference and we had a conversation. And he said, "We need a new nonprofit." I said, "What? Another nonprofit? I'm not so sure we need that." He said, "No, Cheryl, this will just focus on connecting children with nature. That's our sole purpose." And it is such a joy to see, 20 years later, how this work continues and grows and inspires people throughout the world. A number of us who came together in 2005 to create the Children and Nature Network, Rich and I and others, remain involved, and one of the ways we stay involved is through the Founders Council. A few of those founders, in addition to Rich and I, have been here for the last few days. Nancy Herron is still in the room. Jesse Sixkiller has been with us much of this time. Thank you. So in 2022, the Board of Directors of the Children and Nature Network decided to create an award that would honor Rich's vision and leadership, creativity and innovation. And so they created the Richard Louv Award for Innovation in Nature Connection. It's actually not just recognition where we give visibility to some outstanding person who is making a positive contribution in the world. It actually comes with a $15,000 cash award that the recipient may use however he or she chooses to do so. So we're so grateful. I mean, I am among the many grateful to the board for creating this way to honor and help support outstanding people. This is the fourth year that we're able to announce and select and announce, that would be the sequence, an award recipient. And yet, one person each year. Having said that, there are so many outstanding nominees each year, more than 70 this year. A group of us, the Founders Council, went through each of these nominations, thought about the innovation aspect, the replicability, and the sustainability of each of the nominations. They are all so outstanding. And so one of the things that's important is that that many people are still being recognized beyond the one that you'll hear about this year. You can go to the website and look for the Inspiring Leaders feature. So with that, I'd like you to help me welcome the visionary and continuing inspiration to us all to make some comments and to announce the award recipient, Richard Louv.
Thank you. It's always an honor to do this. We've done it several times, and we're going to keep doing it. I have to always make the disclaimer that I did not ask for the award to be named after me. But I did not fight it either, so I appreciate and I'm humbled by that. What I would like to do is, before I get my computer going, is I was asked to make some comments, which I do every year, often from whatever my alleged new book is which is not finished, is. And these are some comments in that. And then I'll talk about our winner. Cheryl has said for years that she thinks my favorite phrase is "what if." So I was thinking about that, and near the end of this alleged new book, I say this. A few years ago, a young American said to me, "I'm 20 years old, and all my life I've been told it's too late." And he repeated it. "All my life I've been told it's too late." So is it too late? That may seem true given the political dismissal of climate change, biodiversity collapse, inequity, and challenges to democracy, certainly in this country and others. Or when we lose faith in leaders and institutions, as has been happening. Or when we accept a post-apocalyptic view of the future. But what if children were to learn of the joy of nature before they learn of its loss? What if nature were considered a human right, not only for the children of parents who love nature or who live in certain zip codes, but for all children? What if our lives every day became as immersed in nature as they are now in technology? What if we create new nature-rich places where we live, work, learn, and play? What if more biophilic architects and planners design workplaces, schools, and cities that not only save energy, but create human energy through nature? What if families adopt a new equation? The more high-tech our lives become, the more nature we need. What if for every education dollar we spend on the virtual, we spend at least another dollar on the real? What if children were not only taught about the science of nature, but also of its spirit? What if every family had the choice to send their child to a nature-based or forest school? What if every playground were green? What if we were to create a homegrown national park, as botanist Doug Ptolemy urges, by planting our yards with native species, and in the process, create wildlife corridors on private land that weave through our cities? Why not a worldwide homegrown park? What if more pediatricians and other healthcare professionals prescribe nature? What if mental health programs add nature therapy to their toolkits? What if families band together to create family nature clubs, each with hundreds of families as members who help each other get outside? What if in 5 years, 5,000 family nature clubs bloom, or 1 million in 10 years worldwide? What if connecting people to nature becomes a growth industry? What if education and business schools work together to prepare entrepreneurial young people to create their own nature connection enterprises? What if the study of our relationship with the natural world were to receive as much research funding as the study of Bitcoin or the weapons of war, including the weapons of war against nature? What if every university offered a discipline called Creating a Nature-Rich World? What if we then took the creative power of all of this and applied it to climate change, environmental health, and our war on other species and on each other? What if leaders in every profession, every faith, every political party spent less time telling us what to do and more time asking us what we can create together? What if we had the courage to be idealistic again? What if? The winner of this year's prize is C.J. Goulding, who's sitting right here. I should tell you that CJ, I said, well, CJ yesterday, what do you want me to say about you? And he said, well, you could tell about how you stole my name tag when we were at one of the other conferences that we had in Houston. And I did, I stole it. And actually somebody gave it to me. They found it somewhere. They gave it to me to give to him, but I wore it all day and introduced myself as CJ Goulding. And this time I ended up with Jesse Sixkiller's name tag for much of yesterday. We know CJ to be obviously an outstanding leader. As a former staff member within the Children in Nature Network, he helped develop and manage the National Leaders Program that many of you went through, I think, which helped young people develop leadership skills, build their networks, and access training and resources. Through the Natural Leaders Program, CJ created a community of young adult leaders working at the intersection of outdoor equity, environmental activism, and climate justice. CJ also helped launch and pilot the Fresh Tracks program and CNN's participation in that. This program equips diverse youth with cross-cultural community building skills, leadership development training, civic engagement opportunities, and the tools to drive innovative youth-led and community action. It is now a program of the Aspen Institute's Forum for Community Solutions. In 2023, he co-founded Boys in the Wood and now serves as executive director of this nonprofit organization. Since its founding, CJ has personally facilitated training experiences for close to 200 men of color, providing outdoor experiences, mental health resources, and community care. CJ's work is centered on nature being a place of belonging, healing, and liberation. I love the use of those three words together. Beyond his formal roles, CJ volunteers his time, energy, and expertise to a long list of organizations. He approaches leadership with an open heart and mind, and he constantly puts himself in new spaces, trying new activities and meeting people where they all are. What I've been told again and again about CJ is what a big heart he has, and that he mentors many, many young men and others. He mentors me too, without asking much for that, without being asked to be recognized. And many of us owe a great debt to CJ. One of the things I was thinking about last night is that I often call our cause a happy cause. And it may be one of the last happy causes until the times change. And CJ is a perfect representation of that. CJ is filled with joy. He represents, maybe more than almost anybody I know, that this is a happy cause, full of joy. Thank you, CJ. Why don't you come up and say something? And this is the, I think I'm supposed to do this now. This is his fancy award. Congratulations, brother. Took his notes. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. For those of you who were at the Nature and Health Alliance conference a couple weeks ago, I now have 10 minutes remaining to speak. So that's a little inside joke and continuation. But I'll start with gratitude. First off, we need to find Rich more happy friends. I think if I'm the happiest friend that you have, Rich, I think we need to find you more happy. Maybe more kids, maybe more nature. I've heard that those things are really great. I want to start off with gratitude. Gratitude, thank you to Rich, thank you to Cheryl, thank you to the Founders Council for this selection. Thank you to the Children in Nature Network as a whole for being the garden where I could sprout and could pick up some of the things and tools and approaches and strategies and learn and connect with communities in order to do the work and embody the values that I do today. That investment in youth leadership is something that I learned during my time working with the Children in Nature Network, and is something that I continue to live out in any way that I can, even though the youth no longer consider me one of their own. Right, Andrea? I want to thank, so just starting with gratitude, I think the second thing that I do want to say is I'm a firm believer in the idea that superstars are not real. Janeway Skillern talks about one of her principles of network weaving is the idea of building constellations and not stars. And that idea stems from the fact that while superstars, and we love celebrities, here in America, we love celebrity culture. And while superstars and celebrities and award winners people seem to be famous or seem to be special, stars themselves are not what make constellations special. Instead, it's the connection. It's the weaving of those stars together. It's the story that ties them together. It's the individual stars coming together for something greater than the sum of their parts that makes them unique and that connects to culture, that tells a story, that makes them get additional power. And so in my constellation, some of the other stars and people in my constellation and who do this work alongside me include people like Marcus Schaffner, an explorer and someone who's building coalitions in Pittsburgh. Folks I met here, the team at Paddle for Peace, who are doing work connecting folks to water in San Diego. Asha Schaffner here in St. Paul, a close friend and someone who's been doing this work tirelessly. Those people are here on the stage with me. Folks in Texas nowadays are managing systems of oppression that are actively looking to take kids out of school and deport people from this country, and they're being innovative in how they make those connections as well. There are folks at WAWA, the West Atlanta Watershed Alliance in Atlanta, who have been doing this work for years, grounded in community, rooted in community, and are doing this work in Atlanta. And folks like Akima Price, who was here earlier this week, people who I've learned from, who I continue to learn from, and do this work with and beside. And so if you think about me, if you think about innovation, if you think about some of the things that I have to say here today, I want you to think about those folks as well, so that's not just myself. And now I'll start the timer that I was supposed to start to figure out how long I had to speak. 10 minutes from now, yeah? There are two things I want to tell a little bit about our story and why I believe what I'm trying to do, the energy I'm giving to the world, might be described as innovation. But first, I think there's this idea. Innovation is similar. Innovation is similar to this idea of constellations. Innovation is often combining parts that may not seem to fit together, or may not have a predetermined use, and using them for a bigger cause. Chefs are innovators. Chefs take ingredients. They'll take tomato. They'll take lettuce. I'm not a chef, so please forgive me for this metaphor. They'll take ingredients. They'll take pepper. They'll take rice. They'll take whatever it might be, and they'll combine it and make it something that's larger than the sum of its parts. For example, Black Americans took unwanted animal parts and turned them into soul food. My ancestors took unwanted parts and turned them into soul food. That's innovation. Other examples of innovations are free Black communities creating mutual aid networks. When crisis happens, when things strike our communities, innovation is what allows us to be able to take what seems to be situations with no answers and combine both our energy and the energy of our environment and communities around us in order to find solutions and to take care of ourselves. The Combahee River Collective a black feminist group in the late 1970s. Those folks, those women understood the power of the oppressive systems that were around us and the need to be able to come together to find solutions. And so, again, I'm not up here because I'm doing work that is brand new. I'm up here because I'm following in the steps of folks who are doing work that has been impactful. And just like the examples I used, innovation is often born from crisis. And I'd be a fool to accept this award and smile and, oh, not a fool, but my joy that Rich spoke of is not ignoring the crises that we face today. We face a whole bunch of different challenges, and which is not new. Our ancestors have faced challenges, and we face challenges today. Shifts in our political climate, climate change, the nature deficit disorder is a crisis, and genocides in places around the world are crises that we face today. I don't know if I said that word correctly, but yellow. And in the same sense, Boys in the Wood was born from some of those similar crises. Over the past 5 months, I've lost 3 or 4 of my friends to either health-related issues. I've lost 2 friends to heart attacks under the age of 45. I've lost 2 friends to gun violence under the age of 35. And these are some of the examples of crises that I've seen and that hit home in my day-to-day life. I personally have faced struggles with mental health and with depression, and have come to the realization that these crises are the breeding ground and have given me the power to understand what my brothers face on a day-to-day basis, and the awareness to understand that the tools and things that I have experienced and the lessons I've learned, my connection to nature, have given me the tools to heal and the ingredients to create a solution. I've experienced nature as a place where we can build community and where we can build belonging. And I believe that this idea of Boys in the Wood, this idea of the work that we're doing, is the next chapter of my purpose. It's the lessons I've learned pouring into youth, like the indigenous youth who you see in that photo. It's the lessons I've learned of time taken, understanding and connecting with communities. And even in the darkest and deepest times, even in my darkest episodes of depression, I've recently been faced with the reminder that maybe you're going through this to be able to heal someone else. My crises have born, and these crises I've spoken of, have born innovation that support my community in remembering wholeness through nature, to reference Robin Wall Kimmerer. Bringing all of the various people and resources and privilege that I have to bear in creating a new vision for the future that we can all ascribe and work towards. Rich talked about what if. He talked about the idea of dreaming of a future that's possible. I like to describe freedom as the capacity to dream of a future that's possible and the ability to be able to act to make sure that that can happen. And so I don't believe that it is too late. I don't believe that we're alone. I don't do this by myself. What if we poured resources into healing people who became the nexus and the hubs in their communities and were able to heal others and heal our relationship with nature? What if we not only did work to connect children, but what if we bent the systems around, instead of figuring out ways to fit into the system, oppressive systems that fit around us on a day-to-day basis, what if we decided that enough was enough and we bent the systems around us so that they actually did what they were supposed to do and healed and supported and represented the folks who are most impacted, whether that's healthcare, community support, our politicians and representatives. At Boys in the Wood, that's what we hope to do. We provide mental health resources, access to outdoor experiences, a space for rest, connection to brotherhood, connection to nature, connection to mental health support from Black male therapists, and the idea of a community that will help them and support them as they bring that back. And we do all of that reducing barriers of cost, stigmas against vulnerability, and things like that, so that we can make sure that they know that this space is created for them, and they can be the authors of the future for their healing and the healing of their communities. That is the innovation that I live for. And so, to close, it is with gratitude that I accept this award as a part of a constellation rebuilding our connection with ourselves and with nature. Martin Luther King, 62. Oh, wow. Martin. 62 years ago, Martin Luther King spoke about the fierce urgency of now. He implored the crowd to go back to Mississippi, to go back to Alabama, to go back to South Carolina, to go back to Georgia, to go back to Louisiana, to go back to the slums and the ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that this can and this will be changed. Separated by more than half a century, I still believe that that call remains true. And I hope that whatever innovation you have seen, both in my story and in folks you have met this week, inspires you to go back and do the same together. Thank you.